How could you shame me for my art? Hi, before we continue, please subscribe to the channel for all Kardashians news and update. Shame on you for art shaming me. There is a moment in pop culture that many people may not remember, but it says a lot about the way we view art, culture, and even each other. It happened on the famous reality show Keeping Up with the Kardashians, where Kris Jenner scolded her daughter Khloe Kardashian for not recognizing the name of an artist, Jeff Koons. At first glance, this may seem like another silly family fight on a reality show, but if you look deeper, the whole situation reveals an important truth about how people judge each other based on knowledge, status, or culture. In that episode, Khloe pointed to a shiny golden figurine sitting on a shelf in Kris's office. She was curious about it, but Kris immediately corrected her, saying in a stern voice, "It's a Jeff Koons. Koons." She went further, explaining that Koons is a famous contemporary artist, best known for creating the balloon dog sculptures. Shocked at Khloe's lack of recognition, Kris told her she needed to attend art classes. The scene ended in a dramatic silence, with both mother and daughter staring at each other in the way reality TV often exaggerates for effect. Still, despite the entertainment factor, Khloe calmly replied with something meaningful. She said, "Just because I'm not as knowledgeable as you, you shouldn't turn your nose up." That one line captured the heart of the problem. Why do people look down on others for not knowing something that is, in reality, not essential to everyday life? What Kris did to Khloe is what many call art shaming. It is the idea that if you do not know the names of certain artists or cannot explain their works, you are less cultured or less intelligent. Kris took on the role of the so-called art police, as if she were guarding the gates of culture and making sure her daughter passed the test. But the question is, should recognizing an artist's name really be the measure of someone's cultural worth? Or is there more value in being open to art in your own way, without fear of being judged? The fact that Jeff Koons was at the center of this family argument is almost hilarious in itself. Koons is an artist who became famous not by following traditional rules, but by breaking them. His balloon dogs, shiny sculptures, and use of everyday objects like vacuum cleaners and basketballs challenge the old ideas of what art is supposed to be. Some critics call his work shallow, saying it reflects a society too focused on money, fame, and celebrity. Others admire him for bringing fun and accessibility into a field that often feels closed off to ordinary people. Love him or hate him, Koons is not an artist you can easily ignore. That is why the irony of Kris shaming Khloe for not recognizing him is so strong. Koons's whole purpose as an artist is to blur the lines between high culture and everyday life. He wants to question the rules of what counts as art and who gets to decide. For Kris to use him as a way to claim cultural superiority misses the entire point of his work. In other words, Kris was acting as if knowing Koons's name made her sophisticated, when in truth, Koons himself would probably laugh at that idea. This brings up a bigger issue. Why do people act as if knowledge itself makes them better than others? Art, music, literature, and history are all wonderful, but not everyone has the same exposure or background. One person might grow up in a family where they attend galleries and museums, while another might spend their time learning about science, sports, or business. None of these paths are better or worse, they are simply different. The danger is when someone uses their knowledge to make others feel small, as if ignorance of a subject is proof of weakness. I noticed this when I spoke with my own sister, who is more interested in science than in art. Her reaction sounded exactly like Khloe Kardashian's. She told me, "You need to give me the space to understand art, rather than judging my knowledge before I can begin to learn." That made me reflect on myself. Had I, without even realizing it, turned into the kind of person who polices others about art? Surrounded by students at Cambridge who discuss artists like Pollock, Monet, and Mondrian as if everyone should know them, I had forgotten that this type of knowledge is not universal. It is a privilege. It is something taught in certain schools, encouraged in certain families, and more common in specific social groups. To assume everyone shares it is unfair. In a way, this is not just my own fault, but the fault of the larger environment I live in. University life. especially in places like Cambridge, often builds a bubble where cultural knowledge is seen as a form of currency. People take pride in recognizing a painting, quoting a philosopher, or mentioning a writer. It becomes a game of status, where knowing the right names makes you look intelligent, while not knowing them makes you seem uneducated. Yet this is a false measure of intelligence. Someone who cannot recognize Monet may still be brilliant in physics, engineering, or medicine. Someone who cannot explain the meaning of Koons's work may still be deeply creative in music, design, or storytelling. The problem is that our society continues to build hierarchies of knowledge. We say we live in an age free from shame, where we encourage diversity and acceptance, but hidden forms of shame still exist. Art shaming is one of them. We might laugh at Kris and Khloe's argument, but many people have felt the sting of being laughed at or looked down on for not knowing something considered cultural. Maybe you have been in a conversation where people throw around names of books, films, or artists, and you feel out of place because you cannot join in. That quiet pressure is exactly what Khloe was calling out when she told her mother not to turn her nose up. There is also something important to say about the way art itself has been used in society. For centuries, art was tied to class. The wealthy funded artists, collected works, and created a system where art appreciation became a marker of status. Knowing the names of painters or sculptors became a way to show off education and sophistication. Even today, when art is supposedly more open and accessible, this mindset remains. Expensive galleries, high-priced auctions, and exclusive exhibitions all reinforce the idea that culture belongs to a privileged few. Jeff Koons tried to break this by taking simple objects, like toys or household items, and turning them into art. He was mocked for it, but also celebrated because it made people ask, why does this count as art? His success showed that art does not need to be mysterious or elite. It can be playful, ridiculous, or even commercial, and still have value. So the fact that Kris Jenner used Koons to scold her daughter shows how far people misunderstand his mission. Koons was not asking us to memorize his name. He was asking us to rethink what art even is. Another interesting part of this discussion is how art knowledge is often compared to intelligence itself. People like to think that knowing about Van Gogh, Picasso, or Koons makes you cultured. But is that really true? Imagine someone who spends their life studying stars, inventing new technology, or working to solve diseases. They may know nothing about art history, but their knowledge still enriches humanity. Culture should not be a competition. It should be about sharing, learning, and experiencing beauty in different ways. Even within art circles, there is debate about what counts as good or bad. Some critics dismiss Koons as empty, saying his work is only about fame and money. Thanks for watching. Please do well to share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more Kardashian updates.